Hi there, and welcome to the second video in this series on utilising Microsoft Teams in order to be able to collaborate with people when you're working from home. My name is Jason Ford from Quanta Training, and in this particular video we're going to be exploring the more advanced functionality that we have as part of instant messaging chats with people in our organisation. So what I have on my screen, I have one of my colleagues here, and I am currently involved in an instant messaging chat with them. Now, one thing that I should mention is that your chat history is actually retained pretty much forever. So you can see I've got some messages here that were actually sent back in 2018, and those are still retained, much like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. If you've made use of those technologies outside of work, you should be relatively used to the fact that you have a persistent chat log that you just add new things to as you go along. But the instant messaging chat side of things is just one part of what Microsoft Teams can offer when it comes to direct communication. When you are talking to someone, you will have a number of tabs along the top of the screen, as I've got here. By default, you'll have chat, files, organisation, with a Z, I'm afraid, it's American, and activity. Chat is where you have your instant messaging feed, along with rich text, along with being able to send things with read receipts, or your animated GIFs, your stickers, so on and so forth. But coming across, we then have the Files tab. And you'll see at the moment I've got a Word document that was shared back in 2018. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to share another document. And your options, when you go to share a document, are to share it either from OneDrive or to upload it from your computer. If you choose to upload it from your computer, it actually then puts it into OneDrive, so OneDrive's your only option. It appears as though you have this kind of shared workspace here, but in fact what it is the documents that you have explicitly shared through Teams that are in your OneDrive. So this is an alternate means of sharing from OneDrive compared to what we have looked at previously. Okay. Let's have a look at what happens when we do choose to share something. And I'm going to go with OneDrive. I've got some files in there that we've looked at in other videos. I'm going to go with my OneDrive Uploads folder, and I'm going to share my Products 2020 Excel spreadsheet. Choosing Share. When I do so, two things will happen. First of all, in the chat log, it will notify the participants of the chat that a file has been shared, along with a link to it. It will also, in just a moment, appear within this files list. It can take a bit of time for it to appear in this files list, but it will get there. If I just navigate away and come back, sometimes that helps a little bit, sometimes not so much. So you can see here it does take just a moment or two for that to appear, but we can access it from within the chat while we're waiting for it to appear there. Irritatingly, there is not an option to remove a share once it's been added in. And so, if you want to do that, you have to go into OneDrive and remove the permissions directly. We looked at that in the OneDrive series of these videos. Likewise, we didn't really get an option as to the level of access we were giving to, in my case Martin here, but whoever you're chatting to. It actually automatically gives them edit access. So bear that in mind. If you're looking for them to just be able to read it, you need to go through the OneDrive method, not Teams. Teams gives you shortcuts for these things, but does make assumptions on your behalf, I'm afraid. Okay, what we actually have the ability to do with these documents is to actually open them up within Teams. You'll notice I'm using the Teams desktop application here, and actually if I take a look, I'm still within Teams. I've not navigated away from it. Microsoft, in many ways, is trying to get you to use Teams as an alternative to Outlook as your hub, your platform for productivity within your organisation. And so, as a result, what we find is that you can actually do an awful lot in here without having to navigate away from it. Anytime I'm done with this particular document, I can click Close up in the top right, but that's not all I've got up in the top right. I've also got Conversation, and this is where Teams really adds extra functionality on top of what we've looked at previously. That Conversation button opens up the instant messaging that you've got in terms of your chat, allowing you to have not only your document open, which you can both edit simultaneously, but also to talk to each other about it, which removes the need to have the document open and an alternate communication channel. It rolls the whole thing into one, which is excellent. You can do this in group chats as well. So if I close this document here, up in the top right, I have the ability to add people to my chats. And I do that by entering their name or email address or tag, something along those lines. So if I take a look in here for someone else within my organization, there we go. And an interesting thing happens when you add an additional person to a chat. If you look on the left-hand side here, can you see that what doesn't happen is that it adds that additional person to my existing chat. Instead, what happens, let me show you that again. What happens is it actually creates a second chat, this time a group chat between whoever you have invited. This is really important to understand, because if I'm having a one-to-one chat with someone, I might be saying things in there that I don't want somebody else to see. There may be sensitive data, etc. And so I can rest easy in the fact that you can never add a third person to a one-to-one chat. All you can do is create a second chat, which is between the three or however many people you want. You can actually have up to 100 people in a group chat within Teams. I wouldn't recommend that, it gets a little bit noisy, but the functionality is there. And within those group chats, you can actually share things exactly as you can in one-to-ones by adding documents in and then giving them edit access to that document. You can then modify it and chat along with it. In a future video, I'll take you through screen sharing, but screen sharing becomes less necessary when you have the ability to actually open the same instance of the document simultaneously, as well as being able to chat alongside it. Screen sharing does still have some uses, but less so now that we've got this functionality baked into Teams itself. In Teams, it's not actually possible to delete a chat. What you can do, however, using the three dots when you're hovering over a chat, is you can choose to either mute it so that you won't get notifications. That's not blocking people, it just means that you won't get the pop-ups, you won't get the activity notifications, or you can choose to hide it. There we go. When you hide it, the data's still there. If you go back into that chat, that information will still be there. So if, for example, I hide my chat with Martin, that's gone, but if Martin talks to me, or if I start another chat with him, all of our chat history is still present. It's all still there, which is great because it means you can't actually delete this stuff. It will always be there, and it enables you to get back to conversations. You can't accidentally lose information that was really important. The last thing I want to take you through with regards to using Teams and the advanced functionality of chats is the ability to add additional tabs up at the top here. When I click that plus symbol, I actually get the option to add a number of different bits of functionality, some of which are from the Office 365 platform and some of which are from third parties. So for example, I can add a OneNote notebook or Microsoft Word or Excel document for us to look at. I can add a tab for a website so that we both, or however many people are in the chat, have got access to that. But I can also add a Trello board if I wish to do so. So if you're using Trello for your task management, you have the ability to add that board as a view within that chat. Bear in mind that many of these third-party tabs, these third-party add-ons, will require you to have signed up and in some cases paid a subscription to those third-party applications. Obviously, if it's Office 365, that will most likely be included within your subscription. So for example, Power Apps, if I wanted to work on a Power App with someone, I can add a tab of that Power App, sorry, I've been playing too many computer games, a tab for that Power App, which enables you to have it open in Studio and both modify it at once, for example. What we're trying to do here is bring everything into Microsoft Teams so we're not having to go between different applications as and when we need to do different things in terms of our working. What we'll look at in our next session is scheduling meetings, having live meetings, and elevating chats and meetings to voice, to video, and to screen sharing. So I hope you join me for that next instalment in this Teams series.